I want to hear about Second City in Vegas, man. So,
okay, yeah.
How did you end up going into Second City? Did you always know after like your hoop dreams and everything? Was it?
It was really kind of nuts. I went from. There's a thing in Kansas City called Comedy Sports. Have you heard of that at all? No. It's still around, and it's basically like short form improv, kind of like that TV show Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah.
So that's something you would go to after homecoming. You know, you go to the dance, and then again, not drinking. We'd go see Comedy Sports because it was a family show, and like there was no swearing or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I did that in KC for a while. Took classes like junior year and of high school, and then senior year, and then I was playing basketball, like I said, down at this Fort Scott Community College. I was driving home every weekend to go watch shows or do shows, and my crossfade from sports to comedy was Comedy Sports. This thing called Comedy Sports,
That's
which
cool
is pretty
as hell.
great. Yeah, you know, and so it was that, and all the silliness that you do as a kid that gets you in trouble in class, that have you running suicides in practice.
Right.
We're now being applauded and lauded. You know,
well
so
done.
I was like, okay, this is good. This is good. And it was improv, so there was no homework. You didn't have to memorize it. It was like it's the best art form for talented, lazy people, which I still aim to be. Both talented, lazy, I got down. And so then it was like, okay, well, where do you go from here? And it was like, well, you move to Chicago. And so me and a couple buddies from Comedy Sports, we moved to Chicago, and we did that for 3 years, like basically from 97 to the second three-peat for the Bulls.
Was such a good year.
97, 98. To live in Chicago,
that had to be insane.
It's incredible. It was incredible, you know. And you're around that, and you're again, you know, just eating like hell, and you know, taking $5, finding the ATM that allows you to take $5 out. Which was right down the street from Wrigley Field, so I could go to Taco Bell around the corner because that's all you could afford. And you just figure those little life hacks out. And then while there, I auditioned for a couple things. One of which was a theater company, an improv theater show in Amsterdam called Boom Chicago. So then I ended up going over there for a few months. And while there, this is in 2000, Second City's like, hey, we're going to open up a Second City in Las Vegas. Would you want to do that? I was like, sure. I was like, great. How long? You know, people are doing 3-month contracts, 6-month contracts. I was like, I'll do a 6-month contract. You know, I'll be able to come home. I won't have to work a temp job or something like that.
Man, I can only imagine signing up for a gig for 6 months in Vegas.
It wasn't like, didn't do a lot of extracurriculars that can make your time in Vegas much more dangerous, you know, or short-lived.
Yeah.
And so, lived there. Did that, ended up staying 2 years, 9 months. And it was graduate school. Like we did so many shows, all that like Malcolm Gladwell theory of 10,000 hours. That's where it was. And you had to like earn it from the audience. Audiences, you know, they're used to seeing like headliners, like, you know, gosh,
Siegfried and Roy,
or Celine Dion, like you know, huge stars. And here we are trying to do like sketch and improv and right outside the window, like it would be only these drapes, you know, type of things would be keeping the sound of people screaming for either winning or losing, or just the sound of slot machines.
Oh, wow.
And we were doing shows early on, you know, for like 7 people. It was horrible. I mean, it was hard. It wasn't horrible. It was just hard because it's still like what we all love doing for a living. And Did
you catch yourself ever trying to like market it while you were there?
We tried. Yeah. I mean, you know, Second City eventually, you know, started doing that, and we started doing all these really interesting grassroots kind of marketing where we just invited all the cab drivers, and they could come for free, so that when they would pick people up at McCarran, they'd be like, you know what show you should go see that we went to go see, you know, because the strip clubs had it down where it's like they get a little kickback when they would bring the strip club.
Us,
we didn't have we didn't have that access or any of the similar show elements, and so we literally reached out to them like that, and then at some point SNL asked, you know, I got asked if I want to audition for SNL and send in a tape, and then moved away to New York from Vegas.
You brought up the 10,000 hours of essentially practicing over and over again. How do you practice improv? That's one thing that's never made, like, when you practice music, you're practicing the exact same thing that you're going to play in the show. Yeah. Improv, you don't know what you're about to do. So how do you prepare and practice to get better at that?
Well, I mean, there's some things like with sports, you know, you work on your ball handling, you're working on your shooting form, and then you're improvising the rest of the thing. Yeah, you're setting up plays, but if you're running like a motion offense or some of the plays that Travis likes to play, just go. I think you just prepare, you know. It's about getting comfortable on stage, getting comfortable with the people. I mean, there's rules, but you don't really need to follow the rules. I think the rules are there just to give you like you know, some guidelines. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's not obviously not.
So it's not complete chaos.
No, not exactly. But and then at the end of the day, it's just like getting better at being yourself, getting better at listening, you know, and to not get in the way of yourself or try to do too much. It's like a little bit like just a little bit stage savvy, a little bit like, you know, like court presence, you know, like where you can just, you feel at ease regardless of the chaos that you're about to, and the unknowingness that you're about to, you know,
for sure,
dive into.
So the entire time in Vegas, like doing Second City, though, you were going to the sports books on Sundays, betting on the Chiefs, is what you. And you were just making sure, like, you didn't dabble a lot in the slots and the tables.
So much
and all
easier
that,
now. The kids now with their apps, they just have to go on the app. We had to go to a sports book and deal with old grizzled men with cigarettes with ashes as long as, like, you know, their fingers. No, it was different. It's different then. We earned it.
It was a dark thing back then.
I barely gambled. Now we put in. Now it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, come on, let Pete Rose be.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
I'm with you.
I was like,
stats don't lie.
I think I gambled $500 in the 3 years I was there.
No.
And it was only on blackjack. Maybe I put some money on the Jayhawks, you know, for some Final Fours or something like that. Like in that.
Okay.
Maybe at the beginning of the season, just because someone else did it, and I was like, oh, I'll do that. That sounds fun. But yeah, for the most part, one time my roommate Mike had a buddy come stay with us, and come to find out what I know now, because people know this world, he was on a card counting team. And so, it was like one of those guys like that those movies are about. And he was practicing basic strategy, and he sort of explained to me all what was going on. And I just found it fascinating. And he had like a computer program that, you know, so you could just run through all the stuff you can do on your apps now when you want to train basic strategy.
Yeah.
I remember we weren't allowed to drop him off at the safe house. We had to drop him off at a corner. It was like a Durango and Twain. I remember it because it always sounded like a badass like 80s cops movie, like Tango and Cash, like Durango and Twain. And then he had to walk to this place where when he explained it to us, it sounded like Fight Club. There's like a bunch of bunk beds and then a bunch of dudes just practicing all day, grinding, because they're just trying to get a little, like 1% over the house
for sure
to make these giant bets. And it was crazy. Like, but that was like, you know, Vegas had like that kind of shit going on and we're just trying to like, you know, do improv. And there's this whole other side. It's the most transient place I've ever lived. People would come in, you'd see them at the pool, they'd have some idea for a new slot machine handle, and then like they had just moved in, and then 2 weeks later they're gone. You never see them again. It was fascinating. And you know, we lived in corporate housing right off of Flamingo and Koval and Flamingo and Koval, right? Which I found out a year into living there. It's right where Tupac was allegedly shot.
Oh wow!
Wow!
But yeah, like
it got a little intense.
It got intense.
We walked past it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's all cleaned up now. We all bought Razor scooters. You remember the little ones?
On the backside of Flamingo, the hotel.
Hold on, we're talking about Razor scooters.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Exactly. But there was a street. I forget what it was. It wasn't Flamingo, but it was one. What was that, west of it or east of it? And we would ride our little, we'd unfold our thing and haul ass up there, because these are all it was filled with degenerate gamblers and addicts, and it was heavy duty. And we'd sneak in the back way to the Flamingo, walk, fold it up, walk in through the swimming pool area, and then sneak right in.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
The Flamingo. Was there ever an end goal in mind?
No. No.
You were just enjoying doing what you were doing.
Yeah, I mean, the end goal at that point would have been 100%, because we were being produced out of Chicago, and Chicago is like the homeland for Second City. That's where we started back in 1959. Would have been to do one of the resident stages there. So that would have been, I was doing a resident stage, but it was in Las Vegas. But to do either the ETC or the main stage, so to go back and to do as good of a job as you can where you're doing your thing, and then have them say, "Hey, we want you to come back and do a show in Chicago." Would have been the end goal.
It's like, wow, right in front. I made it back.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And you used to go to the Second City shows in Chicago
all the time. Yeah.
So did you ever see the legends pull up? Or?
Yeah. I mean, like when I first moved to Chicago in September of '97, Tina Fey was still on stage. Rachel Dratch was on stage. Horatio Sands was in the ETC. I mean, I saw all those guys. Tina was just going to get hired to go write on SNL. But
cool.
But we used to go every Christmas. We would go back to Chicago like Christmas for with my grandma on the South Side, and like all my mom's side of the family, tons of cousins and whatnot, and then like a lot of Junes too, for like when kids started graduating from like Catholic school and whatnot. And I would always ask to go to Second City, and we'd go up there. So I definitely saw Colbert and Carell back in the day, and Amy Sedaris, and you just have faint memories because you didn't know who any of them were.
You didn't know who you were watching at the time.
Not Not yet.
That's
no.
so cool.
I remember seeing Second City Touring Company came through and they performed at, I forget the name of the theater down there. It's down in Crown Center, but they came and performed, and I saw a guy that his name was John Farley, and he was doing a scene that his brother Chris had done, and John's incredible. You know, the whole family's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, that's got to be Chris's brother, you know, and because he was playing like a character that his brother created at Second City, and he was doing the touring company. So that, yeah, it's great. I mean, I still love going back there. It's super fun. It's a great show, and like I said, family show. But that's where I took classes, you know, just like over a summer. It was like 6 weeks, and you know, one of my first improv teacher is a fellow named Corey Rittmaster, who's a Kansas City dude, and you know, we talk. I talk to him more than family because we play Fortnite together.
Nice.
So we're still in